In a surprising turn of events, the Conservative Party has broken a promise. Shocking, I know. So the Tories have made many promises over the years that they've broken, but in the most recent election they made quite a few. They said that they would not cut the foreign aid budget, they said that they would not raise taxes, and they said that they would keep the triple lock on pensions. So they've broken every single one of those. So we're going to have a look at a video of Andrew Marr talking to Nadeem Zahawi, who's a minister, and basically asking him why anyone should trust a word that the Tories say in any future manifesto, because they're breaking all these promises. Let's have a look.
You stood on a manifesto specifically promising not to raise VAT or income tax or national insurance. Are you going to break that promise you made to the voters?
Well, as I say, we're determined to reform the social care system. When we bring forward those proposals, I am more than happy to come back on your programme and explain how we're going to pay for that and explain the proposals.
Okay.
The important thing is not to try and sort of run ahead of ourselves on this interview, because no proposals have yet been published. It's only right that when we publish them, then we can come and discuss them on your show.
I think it's pretty clear that you are going to break that manifesto pledge, and it's not the first one, of course, that this government has broken. You promised people that you wouldn't cut foreign aid, and then you cut foreign aid. You promised people you'd keep the triple lock on pensions. You're not going to keep that. You promised people you wouldn't raise taxes, and you are. Is there any reason for people to believe or even read a future Conservative manifesto?
Andrew, you've just reeled off a load of stuff other than the foreign aid, which we have promised temporarily to scale back because of the size of the financial crisis that we have had to face because of this unprecedented situation of the pandemic. You're being presumptuous in everything else that.
Well, I'm delighted. If you can tell me that. If you can tell me that you're not going to raise taxes, if you can tell me that you're going to keep the triple lock, then that's very interesting and people will be fascinated. But you can't tell me that, can you?
No, because I'm the vaccines minister, Andrew, and the Chancellor, when he stands up at the dispatch box and shares with the House and with the country what he will be doing in terms of how he funds, whether it be the reform of the adult social care system, which this Prime Minister is determined to deliver, then I would happily come on your programme and defend it and discuss it as part of the team, of course. But I look forward
to that very much, Minister. Your colleague Steve Baker says of all the ways to break manifesto tax pledges to fund the NHS and social care, raising national insurance contributions must be the worst. And the reason he says that, I assume, is that 2/3 of people who get long-term social care are over 65, and they will pay no more under this scheme. The working people below that age will pay all the money coming in, and that is simply and obviously, and many people would say grossly, unfair.
Well, the one thing I can reassure you and my colleagues, including Steve Baker and others, is that we will, when we bring forward our social care reform plans, have worked with national and local partners and those with lived experience of the social care sector. We want to get this right, and it is our commitment that we will set those out, as we said we would in the Queen's speech, by later this year. And when we do so, then we can have the discussion as to how we're going to pay for it.
Well, in the end, this is about fairness, and this is a tax on working age people, the national insurance one. To give you an example, a working family based, shall we say, in a rented flat in, shall we say, Hartlepool, would be paying hundreds of pounds more under this example. And then pluck out of the air somebody living in central London, call him, for instance, Nadeem Zahawi, who has a large amount of property, millions and millions of pounds of property, rental property in central London, would be paying absolutely no more at all, diddly squat. Now, that is not fair.
Well, as I said, I will happily come back on your programme when we publish the details and discuss why we think it's the right thing to do. At this stage, it would be premature for me to engage in this, and I'm sure
but
your viewers.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but
we're talking hypotheticals, and you're giving examples without seeing any detail of what the reforms look like.
Well, it's how national insurance works, and every briefing is that national insurance is going to take the burden of this for reasons that we can go into or not. But to give you another example, and this is not theoretical, this is hard fact. If you raise national insurance by 1%, a 25-year-old earning £20,000 a year will pay an extra £104 each year. A 66-year-old earning £50,000 a year will pay absolutely nothing. And I put it to you again, that is an unfair way of approaching this problem.
Well, you're absolutely right in challenging ministers about how we will be reforming the adult social care system, which we are determined to do so. But I am not going to engage in a hypothetical discussion when we haven't yet published the details. And you'll forgive me, right, but that is, I think, in my view, humbly put to you, it would be a knee-jerk reaction. Let's see the detail. Let's see what the proposals are.
We're almost out of time.
So that was that was breathtakingly frustrating. Zahawi didn't really answer any of the questions, and the guy is just blindly loyal to Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. He's blindly loyal to his own career, and he knows that it's in the best interest of his career if he stays totally loyal to them, at least for now. But I do find this whole saga quite interesting. So, as we've explained, taxes are going up, right? But it's not just the increases in corporation tax that are quite against the previously assumed hegemonic Tory ideology of you never raise taxes, you only ever cut taxes, right? It's not just that. It's national insurance. National insurance contributions are going up. Now, that does mean that people who are earning very, very little will be contributing significantly more from their income. So George Eaton from the New Statesman, who's a fantastic journalist, tweeted, "A rise in national insurance would be paid by those earning as little as £6,515 a year, self-employed, and £9,568 a year, employed, after 13 years of no real terms pay growth." So that's the really important thing with regards to demonstrating just how bad this policy is. Not only are working class people, people who are earning very, very little often, being forced to pay more in their national insurance contributions, while billionaires avoid their taxes, and the UK loses well over £20 billion a year, I think it is, from tax loopholes. But they haven't seen their wages rise in a decade. The decade we just had saw the worst wage growth since the Napoleonic War. The worst decade of wage growth since the Napoleonic War. I mean, that is worth saying twice because of just how mind-bogglingly bad that is. So austerity fundamentally failed, didn't it? It failed. The economy didn't get back on track. Living standards didn't start to grow again. Wages didn't grow, and GDP hardly grew as well. So it was just a colossal failure. And now the Conservatives are saying, we're going to raise your taxes. But they won't keep the uplift to universal credit. In fact, the uplift isn't even adequate, but they're cutting the uplift, which is going to plunge more people into poverty and desperation. You know, they won't commit to a proper pay rise for nurses, 15%. It's just incredibly insulting. But this video was brilliant because he is squirming and he just doesn't have an answer because the Tories have just broken these promises. They've cut foreign aid, they say that's a temporary scale back, but I mean that's still breaking the promise because they've cut the aid, and something tells me it might not be so temporary. Not keeping a triple lock on pensions, that's something they're going to stop, is I mean, I do think it's really devastating for a lot of the older people who vote for the Conservatives, thinking that, you know, their pensions are safe, and younger people who think that they'll be able to, like, you know, get a good job, get a house and retire and live comfortably under a Conservative government, because that simply is becoming less and less viable. And the raising of national insurance contributions is to pay for social care, a plan that Boris Johnson said he had in 2019 but wouldn't reveal to anyone, and then it turned out he didn't have in 2020, and it seems there's only been sort of a haphazard plan developed this year, and now it's being funded not by making billionaires pay their taxes, not by making it so that Netflix and Apple and Google and Facebook and Amazon actually pay their taxes. No, it's the working class and the middle class. They're the ones who need to pay more. So this situation is just tragic, really. But it's worth. Oh God, sorry, notification. But it's worth remembering that the Labour Party are offering terrible opposition. Most people don't think national insurance should go up. I can guarantee that. I can absolutely guarantee it. Most people don't think we should get rid of the triple lock on pensions. Most people don't think that we should be gradually privatising the NHS. Most people don't think that the government's doing enough on climate change, and most people don't think that the ultra wealthy and giant corporations pay enough in taxes. They think it's a disgrace that they can just avoid them while hard-working ordinary people pay them gladly. Or sometimes not so gladly, but they still pay them. You know, most people think that. Now, I'm pretty sure, according to the polls, most people in the UK support cutting the foreign aid budget, or at least there's a big chunk of the electorate who do. So that one, you know, Labour would have to actually put in a lot of the groundwork to try and change people's minds on that issue. But the others, it's right there for the taking. But the Labour Party is so tepid, they are so timid, they are so incompetent, and so beholden to this absolutely fantastical idea of what politics is, what real politics is, about what being a grown-up in politics is all about, that's connected to this weird nostalgia for the 90s, when, by the way, Labour lost an election in 1992 that was so easily winnable. It makes me want to give Neil Kinnock a hug, and I don't even like the guy. So the 90s was by no means this golden age for the Labour Party. They won the 1997 election, but it wasn't Blair being a magician. It wasn't him destroying the left of the party, which is what Starmer's currently trying to do, and it wasn't him giving these tiny little. We're a bit concerned about this. We're a bit concerned about this policy. He absolutely destroyed them. He lambasted them constantly, which it was fair. When it's fair, you do it, and most of the time with this government and with the Conservative Party, it is fair, right? So the Labour Party is offering such terrible opposition that, you know, people are just settling for the Tories. You're just settling for the Tories. That's what the polls indicate. Tories would win a majority if there was an election held tomorrow. And I can guarantee, if Boris Johnson called an election today, we had it in 4 or 5 weeks' time, the Tories would win. Can absolutely guarantee it. So let's not forget that the blame isn't entirely, because we know how bad the Tories are. We know. But Labour's supposed to be the working people oriented alternative. It doesn't seem to be really proposing any alternatives at all. I want to know what you guys think. You know, do you think that the Conservatives are right to lift some of, like, the triple lock on pensions? That Conservatives are right to cut foreign aid? Do you think that national insurance should be raised? I'm interested to know. And also, you know, what are your thoughts on why the Tories keep getting away with lying? Well, I personally think, I mean, obviously the media is more favourable to them than left-wing ideas and left-wing politicians. We all know that. But as well as that, I do think, in my opinion, it's Labour's incredibly weak and incompetent how incredibly weak and incompetent running of their own party and opposition and media team as well. But I'm interested in your thoughts, so I'll leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everyone, as always, and I will see you in the next one.